Well guys, it's that time of the season. We're starting to settle into the new meta, Respawn is trying to sell us another round of recolors, and the honeymoon period for balance changes is coming to an end. So I thought, what better time than now to make a tier list? But I didn't just want to make the same old ranking the legends from best to worst. There are bigger YouTubers like Timprovision and The Gaming Merchant that already have that covered, and you've probably already seen those videos. So instead, I decided to add 2 twists to this tier list that hopefully you'll find interesting. The first one is that instead of ranking the legends by who is the best, we're going to be ranking them by who's the most fun to play. And even though we know there's only one correct fun tier list when it comes to Apex Legends, in an attempt to offend as many people as possible, I'm going to go through one at a time and explain why each legend is placed in their respective tiers. Which leads to the second twist. As crazy as it seems, Apex has grown from its initial roster of 8 to now a staggering 23 legends. And as fun as it would be editing hours of talking, nobody wants to watch a 45-minute tier list. So instead, I'm going to go through all 23 legends in 23 seconds or less. And just to make sure I stick to the rules, I'll be keeping a timer up here in the right-hand corner. We'll be going alphabetically with one exception that you'll see shortly, and I'll also have the legend names timestamped below. So feel free to skip to your favorite legend to see where they end up. And with introductions out of the way, the timer starts now. Since it's obvious that Pathfinder is my favorite legend, I figured it makes sense to start the tier list by putting him in the only reasonable spot at the very top of the list. And if for some reason you don't understand why, I only have 2 words for you: grappling hook. Path is the most fun legend, and this is the best he's felt in over 2 years. Pathfinder is in a tier all his own, and this space will be reserved for only the most transcendent of the legends. Alright, moving into alphabetical order, I'm going to say something controversial. Ashe is an A tier legend for fun factor. I never realized how many people think Ashe is boring until I watched Sweat's AMA with the #1 Ashe player. But I really like Ashe. Her ultimate is great for bullying teams with pressure, and there's nothing more satisfying than trapping someone with her tactical and then beaming them down. She's also the only legend that pulls out a weapon to melee even without an heirloom. Ashe is A tier, fight me. With the Revelry update, Bangalore is at the strongest she's been in a long time, and her pick rate reflects that. Since the tactical scans of both Seer and Bloodhound no longer provide sustained full-body images, the smoke has become far more valuable as a tool for escape. I also enjoy her passive, but I find it somewhat situational, since if your enemies actually land their shots, it doesn't activate. With that said, in terms of fun, to me, she's still just pretty good, so we'll slot her at B tier. B for Bangalore. Okay, this might be another hot take, but ever since they extended the range and radius of Bloodhound scan, I've thought the character was super boring. After the buff, it feels as simple as press button, no enemy location. Granted, there's a bit more depth after this season's rework, but now Hound just feels like a hassle to manage. They aren't the worst, but I'm also never in a rush to pick them. C tier. Catalyst. Everyone's favorite, totally not controversial legend. I've talked about this before, but they really nailed the feeling of throwing out her abilities. I love magic in games, and Catalyst truly feels like she's slinging spells. The downside is she lacks any real escape ability, and she requires doorways in order to use some of her most fun kit elements, so she's pretty map dependent. This is a tough one for me, but for now I'm gonna put Catalyst in B tier. Alexander Knox. I hate fighting Caustic. If he locks a building down the right way, the only correct strategy is to avoid him altogether. And going up against a coordinated team is a nightmare. But being that Caustic is extremely satisfying. Nobody respects the gas, and as a result, you can have a lot of fun making them suffer. Trouble is, the moment you leave your gas fortress, he's a big target with no mobility. Caustic goes to C tier. Crypto got a moment to shine this season after they made him available for free, but unfortunately, he's a legend that you either love or hate, and this season proved that most people hate Crypto. I really enjoy using him though. His playstyle is just so unique, there's no one else like Crypto. But I often run into the issue that if your team isn't communicating, it can be hard to properly set up your game plan. For that reason, Crypto can't go any higher than B tier for me, but I still have fun when I play him. Good old Fuse. He's come a long way since his release in Season 8. Having 2 grenades for area denial always available on cooldown is a really good ability, and trapping enemies in a ring of fire while you hammer them with grenades and bullets will never not be fun. Unfortunately, maximizing Fuse's fun factor requires taking height, something he can't really do by himself. Paired with a movement legend like Octane or Horizon, Fuse is an easy A tier, but on his own, I think B tier is a fair placement. I apologize to all you Gibby mains out there, but this guy is boring. If this was a strength tier list, Gibby would be at the top. But in terms of fun, his movement feels super sluggish, his abilities take forever to cool down, and I just don't find his abilities satisfying to use. This list has no F tier because even the worst abilities have shining moments, but Gibraltar just has the least of these in my opinion. I love his personality and lore, but sadly Gibby is our first entry into D tier. Coming in with what might be another hot take is Horizon. There was a time when I thought I was going to become a Horizon main. The tactical is a solid way to move your whole team, and the passive means she doesn't get slowed by falling. Trouble with Horizon for me though is a skill issue. I suck with her ult and get no value from it at all. So I find myself picking her less and less because I don't enjoy picking a legend when I don't use a third of their kit. Maybe one day when I suck less I'll move her up, but for now Horizon's at B tier. And unfortunately the Horizon fans are about to be even more mad now. I'm sorry you have to hear this. Lifeline is S tier for me. I know, it sounds crazy I'm putting her so high when she's lost so much and she doesn't even have mobility, but hear me out. I've run support in every class-based game I've ever played. Overwatch, Battlefield, Elder Scrolls Online, it doesn't matter. I love playing support. And Lifeline is a fun support. I don't need to explain this list is my opinion. And my opinion is that Lifeline gets to join Pathfinder tier. But if you want, you can tell me your opinion in the comments below. Moving on to everyone's crush, Loba, a legend I've loved ever since she released in Season 5. The bracelet, even with its continuous issues, is one of the most unique movement mechanics in a shooting game. We all know the ult is great, and I also think her passive is a slept-on ability. Loba's one of my favorite legends to play, and she seems to only get better with time. Not quite good enough to join Pathfinder tier, but Loba's going straight to the top of A. Remember back in Season 8 when Maggie was responsible for the worst LTM in Apex history? It was awful. I fully expected to hate this character when she joined the games. But somehow, Respawn nailed it when they made her kit. She's so close to Pathfinder tier, but she has one glaring issue in my opinion. Direct hitting enemies with your tactical does nothing to them. If they add a reward for skill shots, she'll move higher, but for now I have to put Maggie in A tier. Apex Legends best boy Mirage, Path tier, enough said. Since I'm sure someone's gonna need an explanation, bamboozling enemies is one of the funniest things in the game, second only to pretending to be a Mirage and then shooting an enemy in the back after you run past them. If we're talking purely about having fun, Mirage has to go close to the top. He also has some of the funniest voice lines in the game. Not quite Pathfinder, but he is pretty close. On to the People's Champion and Lifeline killer, Newcastle. This one's actually tough for me. There are elements of Newcastle's kit that I absolutely love. The revive passive is awesome for safely recovering down teammates, the tactical can be useful for pushing enemies or giving you some extra protection, and the ultimate is a great way to reposition and save allies that are in danger. Everything about his kit ticks my boxes, but for some reason I'm just not that drawn to him. I do like his character though, B tier. Octane the Speed Demon, a man so obsessed with going fast he blew off his own legs and lives with a kidney attachment so he can continue his otherwise fatal drug habit. My best friend's an Octane main, so I rarely play the character, but Octane is exhilarating to play. Once you stim and feel the rush, you'll understand why your random Octane is always out of health and running into the enemy. It's honestly addictive. Still not as fun as a grapple, but Octane sits in second place. Path tier. Rampart is a defense character done well. She's got stationary cover similar to other legends, but it doesn't have a time limit like Gibby, and unlike Newcastle's wall, it allows you to shoot your opponent while remaining protected. And Sheila's a deadly force that shreds any enemy foolish enough to challenge her head on. But I don't really run LMGs this season. So Rampart is yet another legend where a third of her kit just goes unused. B tier. Revenant has been unforgivable ever since I first saw this banner pose. That said though, his tactical can be satisfying to land, especially on Wraiths, Octanes, and Gibbies who use their abilities like a crutch. These days, his ult seems more like a death trap than a helpful ability, but if you've got an Octane or an Ashe on your team, it can be useful. This is a tougher placement because with just a slight tweak, Revenant could easily go higher, but for now, C tier is where he belongs. My boy Obi recently got hit with a huge nerf that sent him tumbling down the pick rate ladder. But after putting some time in with the nerfs, I still think he's pretty fun to play. I will say the delay on his heartbeat sensor makes it tougher to time your tactical, but they're still fun to be had if you're willing to put the work in. B tier. Oh, how the mighty have fallen. There was a time when Valk would have gone straight to Path tier. In fact, after she released, I actually played her far more than Pathfinder because she had the same ability to quickly reposition without the large hitbox. But since her latest nerf, I feel like I'm always running out of gas. She's still strong, but it was way more fun to play the character when I didn't have to constantly be reminded of my carbon footprint while playing the character. B tier. If Pathfinder had a little sister, her name would be Vantage. I love this character. Her reposition ability is really fun to use, and having a sniper that's always just a button press away is a huge bonus. Vantage also just seems to have really short cooldowns for all of her abilities. That said, her overall kit doesn't give me the same rush I get from playing legends like Pathfinder or Octane, so sorry Vantage, to A tier you go. Where to begin with Wattson? She's adorable, her hitbox is fantastic, and I usually do well whenever I play her. But I almost never do because I get practically no value from her abilities. Everything about Wattson is just completely different from the way I play games. Maybe if you could set up a full fence with only one button press instead of two, I'd enjoy her more. But to me, she feels even more building dependent than Caustic. I really hate doing this, but Wattson joins Gibby down in D tier. I just don't enjoy playing her that much. Please don't crucify me in the comments. Last but not least, we have Wraith. And I'm gonna be honest, I went into this list just knowing I was gonna place Wraith in C tier. But I've been playing her since the update and she's actually a lot of fun. Pair her with the R99 and the Wingman or Peacekeeper and it feels like you're back in Season 0 all over again. The ult change this season is also huge. I still think Wraith is a bit overrated, but there's a reason why so many people main the character. Not my favorite legend, but she definitely deserves a spot in A tier. And with that, we've come to the end of the video. Here's the full list. Hopefully I didn't make you too mad with my placements, but if I did, be sure to let me know why in the comments below. I do read every comment and I usually respond, so don't be shy. Remember to like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video, and I will see you in the next one.